Many operators in the finance sector believe that how consumers receive advice is where we're going to see the big changes in the future. Of course, much of this expectation hinges on the UK's Retail Distribution Review, which aims to improve the way advisors deal with their clients. This RDR, as it's known, also effectively signals the end of commission payments with its move towards fee-based advice. The review is due to come into effect in January 2013, and while this is a UK initiative, it is believed those institutions that have connections with the UK will follow suit. So what improvements can expats expect from the Retail Distribution Review and their dealings with IFAs? I've come along to the Fry Group to talk to International Director Graham Barnes. I asked him to explain more about the Retail Distribution Review and its impact on the way clients are charged by their advisors.
The Retail Distribution Review, which you'll hear me refer to as the RDR throughout, ought to be an occasion for rejoicing by consumers, because finally it's separated the advice from the commission. It has in part, but not throughout the industry. Most independent financial advisors, IFAs, will no longer be able to receive commission on the sale of an investment. Instead, they'll have to agree a basis of remuneration with their clients. Sadly, that applies only to IFAs. It will not necessarily apply to some of the bigger providers of financial advice to UK residents, and we're talking mostly about those that offer a vertically integrated advice process, so typically the banks. So it's still going to be possible for the commission to be paid. So everybody in the UK will not necessarily be getting good quality independent advice. The point of your question is, how will it affect expatriates? Well, clearly, those expatriates who are dealt with by a UK-based firm will have a different way of being advised in the future. So, if I can just talk about Fry's, we are a UK company, UK-based company, and for those of our expatriate clients who are advised by our UK-based advisors, then they are already being dealt with in a way which is RDR compliant. So we disclose the amount of the commission at present, and from January 2013 we won't actually take a product-based commission at all. Everything will be disclosed, and it's either a servicing fee initially or regularly thereafter. It's quite a big difference already. For clients of ours who are looked after by our Hong Kong and Singapore offices, or in Brussels or in Cyprus, then they're dealt with by different regulators, and frankly different standards apply. So it's really only the UK which is moving down this separation of commission route. It remains to be seen just how big an impact the UK has elsewhere in the world. I'd like to think that the UK has an influence in these areas. Financial services have been particularly a strong UK point, and actually the morality surrounding financial services has been a bit of a UK area as well. But I think it will only come as expatriates clamour for the new standard of advice, and that's going to take some years, sadly. But through websites such as your own, through some of the media which will make this more apparent, then I think people who look back to the UK will see what's possible, and presumably they will look to UK-based firms to advise them. Those who are based overseas and look to local firms, where those local firms aren't really concerned about the RDR, and you might say, why would they be? That advice won't be delivered in that new compliant way.
Presumably the best possible outcome for those expats based out in that neck of the woods is to be aware of the fee versus commission debate, that this is still very relevant and particularly relevant for that sector.
I think what will happen now is that a few thinking clients privy to what's going on in the UK will start talking to their local IFAs and saying, I'd like to pay on a fee basis. And the local IFA might, if I take a cynical view, reply to the extent, well, why do you want to bother about that? My advice is free anyway. Well, hopefully people will see through that and know that nothing is for nothing. But I doubt that you would find outside an advisor who is governed by the UK's Retail Distribution Review much of an enthusiasm to move involuntarily to a fee basis, simply because when a client comes to you and you say for the first time, I'm proposing to charge you a fee for this service, you do meet a bit of a sales reluctance on the basis of, well, it used to be free, didn't it? Now, clearly advice is going to cost. All too often, especially in bygone days, this sort of advice was ostensibly free. Well, it never was. Luckily nowadays, I think thinking expatriates will see a good financial planner in the same way as they see a solicitor or an accountant. They charge by the time that they put into the work, and so financial planners are now beginning to be paid. So if you can find a financial planner who will work for you on that basis, that is probably the best point to aim for. When it comes to charges on products, then again be warned. So many firms will say, well, there's no charge for this product. That, I promise you, is nonsense. You can usually find out the charges by looking at the prospectus or the offer document if it's given to you. Often firms will charge an initial commission. These days, you probably ought not to be paying more than 3% commission. Not an arbitrary figure, it comes to me from experience, but you'll very often find that charges on investment products can be as high as 7 or 8% in the expatriate world. So that's definitely to be avoided. And again, any advisor you're thinking of entering into what should be a lifelong relationship with should explain how they'll charge in the future. Somebody is going to be working for you, so expect them to want to be paid. It's realistic to have it mapped out.